I want to just kick off by asking you about the president's momentum here. He's jumped right back in on the campaign trail. There's pretty much universal agreement that whatever that first presidential debate didn't do, what it really didn't do was to sway potential independent voters. It really spoke to the base of both of these candidates. When you think about this with regards to just a few weeks left in this race, has the president completely lost the momentum, or is there a way that he could potentially get it back?
Well, he has lost it. I don't think we can close the door on him at this point. But boy, he had a tough week. He had a pretty bad debate performance where the polls showed a widening gap. And then he had his hospitalization, which also raised questions about his policies and his stamina and so forth. So he was out of action for a good week. He went into that week 8 or 10 points back. As your poll just showed, he's a good 12 points back now. So he's in a tough spot. He's got to climb out of a hole. I don't think it's impossible, but it's an uphill push for him. He really needs a debate to get back on a footing with Biden and to be able to engage and win back some of those undecided. It's a little surprising to me that he walked away from the second debate.
When you think about this with regards to the swing states in particular, we're talking, of course, about Pennsylvania and Ohio, the bellwether there of generally of the chances of anybody to get elected. It's interesting that Biden's numbers are not as good as Hillary Clinton's were at this exact same time during the last election. Do you think that that signals a lack of momentum on his part, or do you think he's still going to be able to pull it off in spite of the polls? Because as we know, the polls are not necessarily always accurate. People lie. They don't want to tell the truth about who they voted for. Are we going to see that same kind of momentum headed into this election day?
Yeah, Hadley, I think that's a really good point. Look, Biden's got a ceiling as well. Trump's got a ceiling that might be 44%. Maybe you can push that up to 46% if he's on good behavior. But Biden's got a ceiling as well. And as these polls indicate, Biden's at 51%. But boy, you'd much rather be Joe Biden than Donald Trump in this situation. You'd much rather the 51% ceiling than the 44% ceiling. So but I think the rest of this campaign is largely paint by numbers. Both candidates giving speeches to their groups, not making mistakes, traveling to the swing states. But I don't see Trump or Biden doing something that sways large numbers of undecided voters at this point. The one exception might be if there is a second debate, and the Supreme Court hearings might be an exception, but it looks like the first day was sort of uneventful. Then there could be some imponderable. There could be an action by Iran or North Korea or something. But I think absent what we cannot predict, I think we're just going to see this play out and the numbers be very close to what the polls are today.
Frank, when you dig into some of the issues here, clearly China is on top of the agenda. I thought it was interesting that during the vice presidential debate, we heard Kamala Harris say that President Trump has lost the trade war with China. And I wanted to get you to weigh in on this, because clearly you could also argue that the administration has been very effective in using sanctions as a tool of foreign policy leverage to improve the reciprocity of America's trading relationships. But if we did see Biden become president, how do you think he would handle this major China trade issue that continues to hang over the United States?
Well, look, I think the tariffs were effective in delivering shock to China. I think it was quite an abrupt move, and it did take them by surprise. But I don't think they were effective in terms of helping U.S. trade policy correct the problems that we're seeing, or improve exports, or close the trade gap, or get more access. There was very little to show for all of the friction that he put into it. So it's hard to view that as a success. Now, will Biden maintain them or look for a way to unwind them is an open question. I'll tell you this, it behooves Joe Biden not to even go down that path while he's a candidate, because it's such an emotional issue. But I would say if the election's over, if Biden does win, then I would say the ball's sort of in China's court. So maybe China can make some moves to signal some goodwill or some flexibility. And then I would encourage Biden to respond.